Hybrid working, is it a walk in the park? Is it a step in the dark? I think it's a question all of us have been asking ourselves a lot of times over the last months. Good afternoon, I'm Lieven Bartier. I'm working for Barco's workplace team, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity to speak with you today. We find ourselves in the midst of a workplace revolution. COVID-19 has changed our way of working like never before, and seemingly overnight we stopped traveling, we stayed away from the office, we canceled trade shows and conferences, we even stopped seeing many of our loved ones. And in just a few weeks' time, the global workforce has moved from primarily face-to-face interaction to remote collaboration. In fact, Gartner recently forecasted that the proportion of enterprise meetings conducted face-to-face will drop from 60% pre-pandemic to 25% by 2024. And this is driven by remote work and changing workforce demographics. The workplace, as we've known it for so long, is definitely not coming back. And almost instinctually, I'd say, we sought to continue what we were doing by using unified communication and collaboration tools. And if you look at the surge and adoption of Zoom, Teams, WebEx, and many other platforms, this is really testifying to this. In fact, in March, Microsoft reported that Teams minutes grew from 900 million to over 2.7 billion per day, and that in just 2 weeks' time. And our friends at Zoom, Marcus at Zoom, he is clearly enjoying the same stellar growth with the company there. IT teams were giving it all they had to provide the necessary bandwidth for our new remote working style. But now, a few months into the pandemic, companies are starting to think what the new normal should look like. And as Google's COVID-19 mobility trends show, we're heading back into the office step by step. At the start of the pandemic, March, April, there were like 70% fewer people coming to the workplace, traveling to the workplace, as this statistics show. And the pattern is now sort of normalizing. And today there's, on average, there's of course regional differences, but there's between 30 and 35% less people coming into the office. And with the initial stress gone, this is like the perfect time to start reflecting on the patterns, the pros and cons of working remotely. I would like to start with this recent article from Forbes. It's highlighting research from the MarTech group. They surveyed more than 1,200 individuals across various industries, demographics, seniority levels to see how working from home during the pandemic was affecting them. And while some people blossomed working from home, the survey also found a significant decline in mental health across all industries. And you even see that job satisfaction, job motivation, company satisfaction, all of those were negatively affected. Only 28% of the employees reported positive mental health, only 32% reported job satisfaction, only 36% reported job motivation, and these percentages before the pandemic were typically in the 50s and 60s. So that's the impact of working from home. And this sentiment is also echoed by Stanford University professor Nicholas Bloom. He has been researching the impact of remote working for over a decade. Back in 2015, he already issued a report on a Chinese travel company named Ctrip, and their company's CEO was looking to expand its operations without renting extra office space. So 250 employees volunteered to work from home for 4 out of 5 working days, and they did so for 9 months. The initial results were promising, resulting in more minutes per shift because people took shorter breaks, they had fewer sick days, they had fewer diversions. So long story short, there was a 13% increase in performance working from home. That was almost an extra day of output per week for every employee. And there was a 50% drop in employee quit rate. So everything looked fantastic. But then 9 months later, loneliness and isolation, those weighed so heavily on the remote employees, and they even reported that they had less chances for promotion because they simply missed hallway conversations or lunches with their managers or drinks with colleagues after work. So it's not just about happiness, it's also about career advancement. And related to that, also the ideas, the innovations that typically stem from human interaction were compromised. And this is something that Professor Bloom recently stressed again. And he expressed his fear that the collapse in office face time will lead to a slump in innovation. In other words, we are losing on ideas today, and this could well impact our economic growth in 2021 and beyond because we miss out on new products. Something also the late Steve Jobs stressed, the importance of coffee machine conversations on creativity. Now, there's clearly this growing fatigue in an exclusively work-from-home approach, and businesses, they are weighing the pros and cons for their employees returning to the office. Tech giants like Google and Facebook, they have already announced that those who can do their jobs remotely will continue to do so until the middle of 2021. Microsoft won't require a return to office until January of next year. And then you have other companies, Goldman Sachs, for instance, they are pushing for a swift but safe return to the office. So they're not pushing for home office. No, they want their people to come back into the office as quickly as possible. And the reason is very simple. CEO David Solomon from Goldman said, the firm has always had a team-oriented apprenticeship culture, and we benefit from being and working together. He was quoted in Fortune magazine, and there Solomon made it very clear that he wants his colleagues back in the office as soon as safely possible. And he himself, he never stopped going to the office through the pandemic. So what is the solution? How can businesses best respond to this workplace flashpoint? And I'm deliberately using the word flashpoint here because we are at this critical point where things get ignited, where significant action is triggered. And the pandemic has ignited this transformation of the workplace. It has accelerated the transformation of the workplace. Businesses, they are grappling with the best ways to serve employees and customers, and they are trying to address the emotional and professional needs for collaboration without sacrificing safety and productivity. But this workplace flashpoint, it has amplified the need for a truly hybrid work style. And to be clear, hybrid ways of working, that's not a new concept. It's a model that businesses have been exploring for years as employees have demanded more flexibility in where and how they work. It's something we also observed, for instance, in our Future of Meetings research that we fielded at Barco last year. And there we identified a clear demand from employees for greater flexibility for smarter technology solutions. And our research found that employees use on average 6 different conferencing solutions, and 7 out of 10 employees are actually taking their own laptops into the meeting rooms. On top of that, people have become far more accepting of technology as a way to enhance team working, and 76% of respondents agreed that technology plays a central role in all collaborative sessions, especially when remote attendees are present. So, long story short, the research showed employees have a strong preferences for their ways of working. They want to decide themselves when, where, and how they work, and that flexibility to pursue those preferences is very, very important to them. Now, our research, just like the one quoted from Professor Bloom, was fielded before the pandemic, but you can clearly see that the seeds were there, the patterns for a workplace transformation were already present, and that we now are seeing this flashpoint ignited by the spark of the pandemic. So the move to a hybrid environment is no longer theory, it's a necessity. And how can businesses enable their employees to thrive in today's hybrid working environment? How can businesses allow employees to work when, where, and how they want? How can businesses allow them to leverage technology solutions that they feel most comfortable and confident navigating? Well, whether in the boardroom, whether in the huddle space, whether in your own living room, the hybrid model finds employees working on their own terms without sacrificing on creativity, productivity, nor results. And because of this flashpoint, we now have an opportunity to redesign how businesses operate. It's no longer good enough to say, well, this is the way it's always been done. Forget about it. In the last few months, if they have taught us anything, it is that businesses are resilient. They can entirely reframe when, where, and how they do business and still meet employee and customer needs. And as we move forward, it's essential that businesses maintain this mindset of resiliency and agility, and that they add smart IT solutions that will support a hybrid way of working. And when it comes to those IT solutions, there's some interesting research that shows that investment budgets will probably increase post-pandemic, at least for things that facilitate hybrid working. I'm quoting from a survey of 219 meeting room decision makers, and there 1/3 believe IT spending will increase significantly, another third believe their budget will be somewhat greater than before the pandemic. Only 12% say my budgets will be declining. And so half of them report like a 3-month to 6 months delay in spending due to the pandemic, but at the same time, the majority of them, 69%, believe their budgets will be larger when they do resume. So the investment climate is there for hybrid working. And for those companies that have been slow to embrace hybrid working, the pandemic has forced their hand as they struggle to implement smart and secure IT solutions that will allow for engagement. There's many factors to consider, to be honest. Building a workforce around a hybrid approach, balancing a mix of physical and virtual interaction, providing the flexibility to increase and decrease resourcing based on organizational demands, it's all part of the equation. And now is the time for those businesses. Whatever stage you're in, it's the opportunity to turbo boost your efforts and educate yourselves about the realities of a dynamic working environment. And as companies formulate what response is most appropriate, it is helpful to take stock of what we know to be true. Engagement, collaboration with colleagues, those are key requirements for business success. And at times when we cannot be physically together, fostering a genuine connection becomes even more important. And the study I was mentioning before also noted that half of the panel predicts a significant increase in the use of video conferencing from meeting rooms in the second half of this year. So that means we're going to do more video conferences post-pandemic than before the pandemic, and meeting room decision makers see this happening already this year. In short, meetings matter. That's confirmed, and meetings will not lose any of their relevance. They are the forum in which the work truly gets done. It's a place where you set strategies. It's a place where you take decisions. It's where you build your projects. It's where plans are turned into actions. It's where you reach agreements. And you would be hard-pressed to find a business that does not benefit from a meeting. And that being said, the meeting could always be better. It could be tighter, more focused, more engaged. And as businesses develop hybrid working models, ensuring that the robust connection and dialogue that an effective meeting produces is of paramount importance. It's imperative for decision makers to understand how to best implement this hybrid working model. It's important for them to integrate IT solutions that will not only maximize investments or bring ROI, but most importantly, investments that will empower in-person and remote employees, customers, and partners to collaborate, create, and produce measurable results. I've got 3 key points for consideration if you want to move forward towards a hybrid workplace. And the first one to me is it's time to reinvent the role of the office. The traditional office, as we've come to know it, is a place where all people just come in, they sit, they work. That model will not survive. Your employees expect you to find a balance and embrace hybrid working. And this was, for instance, illustrated by a recent survey from Gensler. They interviewed 2,300 US employees. They found that 70% of them want to work the majority of their time from the office, with only 12% saying they want to work from home full time. And the reasons for coming back are multiple, but it is about face-to-face meetings. It's about face-to-face collaboration with people. It's about socializing with colleagues. It's about personal interaction. And it's about having better technology as a third compelling reason. But the new working, it will require a radical rethink of the office layouts. Secondly, businesses must acknowledge the vital role of the laptop. No business tool has been more important during the pandemic than an employee's laptop. At one point in time, laptops were relegated to docking stations in an office cubicle, but now they are the primary solution for employees to do their job. And one of the most important uses for the laptop has been for connection and collaboration with coworkers, customers, and partners. And this is a trend that will extend beyond COVID and into our new way of working. The laptop will continue to be an employee's most valued productivity tool. It will be an essential meeting orchestrator as it becomes the tool from which employees manage their meetings. And supported with the proper IT solutions, the laptop facilitates productive and engaged meetings, for remote and in-room participants, resulting in true meeting effectiveness. At Barco, we've dubbed this Bring Your Own Meeting, BYOM. And BYOM recognizes the importance of the laptop. It transforms the meeting experience by allowing users to host a meeting from their personal device using their preferred conferencing platform, whether Teams, WebEx, or Zoom. And today already, 6 out of 10 conferences are launched from the laptop. BYOM, it reflects the flexibility and freedom that the laptop provides and that employees expect. And the ideas of freedom and flexibility, they do not only refer to the IT solutions that an employee chooses to utilize, but also to the physical environment in which the meeting takes place. And over the last few months, employees have grown accustomed to making any room in their home or even outside their home a meeting room. And when returning to the office, they will want that same level of freedom. They will demand IT solutions that make it a reality. If you want to meet in the boardroom, if you want to gather in the breakout room, if you want to convene in a huddle space, the ability to take the meeting with you on your laptop without sacrificing engagement or collaboration is essential. Now, last but not least, thirdly, aim for the agile workplace. And yes, it's a buzzword, agility, but it is an essential word. It's an essential to how we are living. So there's every expectation that this mindset will span across our personal and professional lives. Executives, IT decision makers, they must adopt this approach as they determine how to best deploy their resources. And agility in IT, in R&D, supply chain, CRM, agility is everywhere, but it allows a business to prepare for all potential outcomes. And we're facing the same in the workplace today. We have to be ready for the unexpected. That's what the crisis has learned us. So preparing for the future, or preparing for whatever the future holds, requires decision makers to ask important questions. When, where, and how do my teams engage? What are the best practices I want to carry over from an exclusively work from home approach to a hybrid setting? What solutions do I need to employ to ensure that I'm giving my employees the flexibility and tools they need to be successful? Asking these kind of questions will provide a realistic view into how a company operates and inform the proper way to implement hybrid working. This is a truly remarkable time as we are responding to the workplace flashpoint created by COVID-19. We have an opportunity to be bold in reimagining the workplace dynamics so that it fosters greater work-life balance without compromising on communication, collaboration, and results. And business decision makers have a host of considerations to be mindful of in navigating the ever-changing workplace environment. Employers, they should address the varying levels of employee fatigue stemming from exclusively working from home. They must understand the flexibility and freedoms demanded by the workforce. They must value the elevation of the laptop as the preferred meeting tool and make prudent decisions about their IT solutions to accommodate for all of these requirements. This is the year, this is the dawn of true collaboration, and we are poised to recognize the full potential of BYOM. And as we respond to the workplace flashpoint, we have an exciting opportunity to fully realize the potential of hybrid working. I do expect exceptional outcomes, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds. And to me personally, I will mark 2020 as the first year of a new era, as the era of true meaningful collaboration, the era of BYOM. Thank you.